Hello world, Cossy here with this week's roundup of Geek movie news. Now apologies that there was no video last week. Some of you may know I've been ill. I actually was so ill I had no voice and therefore was unable to deliver some top quality geek movie and TV news to you guys. Apologies about that. So this show is going to be a longer one than usual. So here goes, starting off with The Expendables. Now, The Expendables 2, that is. The Expendables 2 has got some more casting news this week, and it's a new person joining what is already a fairly bulky ensemble cast, and that is Liam Hemsworth. If you know that name, you're not sure where from. He was in The Hunger Games and also The Last Song. He's joined the cast of The Expendables 2. It seems to me now like it's getting to the point where it's going to be very, very difficult for the actors involved in this movie to have more than one line of dialogue, because there's so many people actually signed up for it, and the cast just keeps growing, guys. Crazy days. Okay, next thing I'm going to talk about today, guys, is the Wolverine. Now, Hugh Jackman's been talking about this sequel to X-Men Origins Wolverine again this week. He's mentioned two major things. Firstly, he was talking about the fact that he will not be filming any of the scenes now for this movie until next year, because he's going to be involved in shooting a version of the musical Les Miserables. So that means that the Wolverine has been pushed back production-wise until 2012. To me, this means that October 2012 release date that was announced, it seems less and less likely now. We're probably going to see a pushback of the release date of this movie. And as long as it doesn't affect the quality of it, it's not really a bad thing. We've got plenty of other movies to look forward to next year anyway, so yeah, it's going to be pushed back probably, but production definitely is. Second thing you mentioned is trying to talk a little bit about what I was talking about 2 weeks ago now. That was the script rewrite. Now, for those of you who don't know, the original screenwriter behind The Usual Suspects wrote the original screenplay for this movie, and it's getting a rewrite. Now, basically he said that is all to do with the fact that the new director replacing Darren Aronofsky, his name is James Mangold, he's come in and he wants to put his own stamp on the movie, and that's why he wanted a rewrite. Apparently about 85% of the rewritten script is the same as it previously was, but he wanted to put more of his own stamp on it. Just to give you a quote from Jackman himself, he actually said that he wanted it to not only have his own stamp, but be a lot more real in comparison to what the script that had come before. So I guess we'll see what real means when this film finally comes out. As long as it's not a shambles like X-Men Origins Wolverine was, it'll be all good. So I've warned you again, guys, don't make a mess of this one. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at today, guys, is Thor 2. Now, some Thor 2 news come out this week. Two stories. Firstly, a story about the Marvel Studios president, Kevin Feige, coming out and talking about the plot line to the next Thor movie, saying that it's going to literally take Thor to other worlds, that it's going to primarily focus on him and Jane Foster, as well as the new relationship, really, between Thor and Odin, who's played by Anthony Hopkins in the first movie, and the fate of the 9 worlds. So, yeah, it sounds good to me. There's a lot of scope there. There's a lot of scope not only by the fact that it will be looking at probably the 9 worlds, but the fact that it can draw on a lot more of the mythos of the Asgardian characters in the Marvel Universe, which can only be a good thing. So, yeah, we've got some broad scope for a fantastic, fingers crossed, sequel when Thor 2 finally does hit cinemas. Secondly, there's been some news about the director of the second movie. Now, I know I talked a little bit about Brian Kirk was apparently the shoo-in for this job, but it's now been passed to, well, supposedly, another person, and that person is Patty Jenkins, who was the writer and director of 2003's Monster, with Charlize Theron. It won her an Oscar. She is now the front runner to be the director to replace Kenneth Branagh in directing this next Thor movie. Now, Kirk was the front runner. Apparently there was some disagreements during negotiations about creative difficulties and also financial So he's turned it down, and it now looks like it's Jenkins' gig to turn down. So no firm confirmation yet. Once there is, as always, I'll be passing on that information to you guys. Okay, next up is Captain America 2. Now, Chris Evans has been talking about this movie this week, and he's actually been talking about the fact he believes Marvel will not release it now until 2014, stating that obviously there are a lot of movies Marvel has planned for release in the next sort of couple of years in the aftermath of Avengers. Now, he doesn't believe they want to saturate the market with too many sequels. We're going to see an Iron Man 3, we're probably going to see Thor 2, Captain America 2 will happen, but probably not till 2014, which looks good in relation to some of the other movies, like the Ant-Man movie that's in the works, and Guardians of the Galaxy. So we're not going to see Captain America probably till 2014, but that doesn't mean we're not going to see new Marvel movies before then. Just a delay on Captain America 2. Okay, next up is Dead Island. Seems like the movie rights to this successful video game from Techland has been picked up by Lionsgate. So we're going to see an adaptation of Dead Island in the near future. The Mummy producer Sean Daniel has been put forward and confirmed as a producer on this project, as well as Stefan Sonnefeld. So yeah, in the near future we're going to see an adaptation of Dead Island. No director, no casting news as of yet. It is a very early announcement, but Dead Island will be made into a feature film in the very near future. Some Fast and the Furious 6 news that also affects another franchise, and that franchise is The Terminator. Now, Fast and the Furious 6 has picked up a director. That director is Justin Lin. Now, Justin Lin was originally scheduled to direct the next 2 installments of the Terminator franchise and this movie. Unfortunately, due to apparently a schedule hitch, he will not be able to film the next Terminator movie and the next Fast and the Furious movie. Had to choose between the two, has picked Fast and the Furious 6. Now, he's come out and said if they change their schedule on the Terminator movies, he will quite happily come back and make the next Terminator movie, but he wants to concentrate obviously on Fast and the Furious as of now. If you're looking at the Terminator franchise, the producers Megan Ellison and obviously Arnold Schwarzenegger, they have a tough choice to make now. Do they hold back on production until their guy, the guy they want as their #1 guy to direct these next 2 movies, is available, or do they go out and find someone new? If Justin Lin is telling the truth, and he will obviously go back to the project, get him signed in, wait a little bit, make sure your scripts are right. We don't want to see a rushed Terminator movie, we don't want to see a bad Terminator movie, we want to see something that, you know, holds up in the rest of the franchise, guys. So maybe time is a good thing, who knows. Okay, next up is Mass Effect. Some news coming out of Legendary Pictures is that obviously their adaptation of Mass Effect will obviously feature a male Shepard. That's not a massive surprise. But what it will feature is that it will feature a new storyline, not following the storyline taken from the video game. To me, this seems like a massive, massive error. The video game storyline is highly engrossing, is very, very interesting, and it seems very much like the Uncharted storyline, perfect for adaptation for a movie. So hopefully they're not going to go down the route of those terrible movies we've seen adapted from video games in the past, like a lot of the movies made by Ubal or the Resident Evil movies. But yeah, we're going to see a male Shepard. That's a good thing. I would have thought that would have been a given anyway. But we're not going to see the storyline taken from the actual franchise, which could be a very negative move. Okay, next up we've got some news about the new James Bond film. Now, it's not exactly news, more rumours. The writer, James Logan, he's been toying with Bond fans for a while about the fact that he may bring back Blofeld for the new movie. And just to give you a quote. When quizzed on a subject recently of the character, he said that Bond should always fight Blofeld, and that Blofeld isn't dead, he could be back in the near future. So it feels to me like that's a good indication. It also feels to me like it's time that the fans saw the return of Blofeld. Blofeld is obviously Bond's Moriarty. He is a character that fans of the series have been waiting to return, and the way that the last movie ended seems to be setting up the return of something major, and could that finally be the return of Blofeld? Who knows? Okay, next up, Mark Millar has been talking about Kick-Ass 2, Balls to the Wall, this week, and he has been saying he wants this made as soon as possible, sooner rather than later, but in doing so, he may actually lose director Matthew Vaughn. Now, he puts a lot of that down to the fact that Matthew Vaughn has been very successful in the last couple of years, not just with Kick-Ass, but with things like the last X-Men movie, X-Men First Class. If you haven't seen my review, click out, it's just there, give you some time to go back and watch it. Now, yes, he's been successful, and therefore he might not be able to commit to this Kick-Ass sequel. Just to give you a quote from Miller himself, he said, "I'd imagine if this happens anytime soon, that Matthew will produce, possibly even co-write, but like George Lucas did with The Empire Strikes Back, we'd have to hire a new director, and this is all because he's been so successful." Now, Miller himself has actually mentioned that he's looking for a 2013 release date for this sequel to Kick-Ass, so the sooner rather than later thing, that really does kick in there. 2013's not that far off, and he just really wants to get it into cinemas, just like he really wants you to go out and buy the comic book. So expect to see a collected graphic novel of this soon, and obviously, fingers crossed, we're going to get the actual movie version sooner than we first thought. Okay, according to Heat Vision, a franchise you might not have heard about, is going to be adapted into a feature-length movie. That franchise is the NYE Incidents. Apparently, comic book creator and screenwriter Stuart Paul is working on adapting that into a full-length movie. For those of you who don't know much about it, basically it's about a seen-it-all logical medical examiner who faith in the rational is shattered when she comes across a brutal murder that may or may not be connected to an alien serial killer. Now, I'm sure that's probably how this was sold to studios, alien serial killer. It's a great concept. I really hope it works. It could be very, very good. We'll just have to see what they can do with it. But it is getting made, it is getting adapted into a feature film in the very near future. So it gives you plenty of time to go out and, like me, because I don't know a great deal, I've not read the actual graphic novels, gives us time to go out and read them before the film does come out in the near future. Looks like the Lone Ranger, something I've been talking about a lot in the last couple of weeks, has finally been rescued by Disney. Now, it seems that they've accepted the $215 million budget. That was a reduced budget to what originally was proposed to them. They seem to have accepted it, and that means that this movie will retain not only Gord Verbinski as director, Jerry Bruckheimer as producer, but also Johnny Depp as Tonto. Now, this, to me, is great. The fact that they've accepted it and that those three are signed on is great, and also that they are going ahead with basically filming and production ASAP. So they're actually already hiring people to be involved in this movie. So we're going to see eventually, and probably something that we thought wouldn't happen the way Disney was handling it, we will see the Lone Ranger. To me though, I'm still not quite sure how any Western movie, even a modern Western movie, would cost over 200 million. So yeah, hopefully we're not going to see what we saw with Wild Wild West. We don't need giant mechanical spiders. As long as we don't see anything like that, then this movie's got every chance of being a huge success with the people involved. So Disney, listen to Cossy. We don't need huge mechanical spiders. Thank you. Okay, some news about the Chronicles of Riddick sequel. Firstly, it's now finally got a name. It's going to be called Chronicles of Riddick Dead Man Stalking. Secondly, some casting news. Apparently Carl Urban has been confirmed as signing on to reprise his role from the previous movie, playing the character Vaco. No idea what they're going to do with the character in this movie. Obviously there was a very definitive sort of ending point for that character in the last movie. So yeah, which side are we going to see Vaco fighting on? Who knows, but at least he's signed on. I think this is a good thing. Every time I hear more about this project, it gets me more interested in it. I think Riddick is a very interesting character anyway, and the previous two movies and also the animated movie were fantastic. Some of the video games were pretty good as well. So yeah, the continuing adventures of Riddick coming to our screens soon, and when any more news is out, I'm going to pass it on to you guys. Okay, looks like an all-star lineup for what you can see in the background. The new Justice League animated movie, which is called Justice League Doom. Now, just to reel off a list for you of the voice actors involved, it's kind of a bit of a DCAU reunion from the Justice League Unlimited days, but just to give you the names, we've got Kevin Conroy, we've got Michael Rosenbaum, we've got Susan Eisenberg, Carl Lumley, all reprising their roles as Batman, The Flash, Wonder Woman and Martian Manhunter. We've also got the fact that Tim Daly, the guy who did the original voice for Superman in Superman the Animated Series, is returning to that character, and Nathan Fillion is keeping his role as Green Lantern from Green Lantern Emerald Knights, something that I recently reviewed, and I'll click up a little link there so you can click out and watch my review. But yeah, this is all good news. Fantastic voice actors, all actors that have fitted the characters in the past. It's not going to change now, is it? So this gets me really interested in this movie. I'm, as you all know, a big fan of these DCAU films. They just seem to get better and better. This is another one that's being adapted from an actual comic book storyline, a storyline from the year 2000, which was a JLA story arc called Tower of Babel by Mark Waid, and yeah, gives us time to go back and maybe reread for some of us, or read for the first time for others that storyline, find out a little bit of what it's about before this movie comes out. But very, very interested in it. Obviously, it's no idea about the animation style, if it's Bruce Timm or otherwise, but the voice cast is locked in, and I'm excited to see that they've got such a good cast for this next DC animated movie, due out sometime early next year. Right, finally this week, guys, we've got some news about Mortal Kombat. Now, it looks like New Line Cinema is finally rebooting the Mortal Kombat universe when it comes to the film franchise. For those of you who don't know, the first Mortal Kombat movie, very, very good movie. It looks a bit dated now, but at the time was fantastic. Second was terrible. TV series was even worse, so we won't even talk about those. But it's had a very, very successful web series on YouTube through Machinima in the last year. And the guy involved in that, Kevin Tacheron, he has been attached to this project to actually direct this new reboot of Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat, for me, I was a big fan of the games and a big fan of the first film. I cannot wait to see what this guy can do with a feature-length version of Mortal Kombat. If you haven't seen the series that he did on YouTube through Machinima, it was called Mortal Kombat Legacy. Go back and watch the episodes now. They're fairly short, sort of 10-minute episodes, and they are amazing. They will blow you away how well this has been done, and just give you a bit of a teaser to what you can expect from this Mortal Kombat movie that's coming out in the near future, hopefully, fingers crossed. Okay guys, thanks for watching. As always, you know where the like button is. If you liked this, then like button's down there, go and click like, subscribe, favourite, comment if you've got something to say, or even some information you've got to pass on. Maybe some geek movie news you've come across that I might want to know about for next week's episode. Always willing to listen to anything to put in for content-wise from you guys, the viewers. If you haven't seen my latest reviews, my one for the Green Lantern animated movie is there. Click out and watch that. My one for Warrior is there. Click out and watch that. last week's Geek movie review, part 1 and part 2 are there. The subscription box is highlighted here on my face so that you can subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. In the dropout box below, there's also a link to my Facebook fan page, so that if you aren't following me on Facebook, you can do, and you can find out more about what's coming up in the world of geek movies, as well as coming up video-wise from me. That's all for this week. I'll be back as soon as I can with some more geek movie news and some more geek movie reviews. Until next time, everyone, au revoir.